Imagine this. Who could imagine that they would do this? Who would imagine? Who would imagine that Instagram would kill the live? Right? Instagram would kill the live because the music was playing. That's exactly what they did. Giannis Akumpo, really? I see you, Princess Jamaican. I'm hitting the wave button, but it's not going through. Yeah, they killed the live because we had music playing. I see you. I see you, JC. Happy Wednesday to you too, man. Let me see if partner Submit Lyle is on the lane, y'all, tonight. Yeah, I don't get that. So I probably prefer to go TikTok live where I don't have to worry about it. I can play music through the whole thing and nobody's gonna say nothing. I see you here. I see you here listening, brother. You haven't switched up yet. You said you was here to listen to stories and get a better or a different perspective than the one that was being given out all the time, and you've stuck true to that. CS Films. I saw you at the gym 2 Saturdays ago out in Chatsworth. I saw a lot of the uniforms that the girls were wearing. Right, the players had CS Films on there. So right now, what we have is a technical difficulty happening on Fatima's end. What's up, ATL? Happening on Fatima's end. We're waiting on her to come in. She sent me a text. There she is. So she should be putting a request to join right now, and we can bring her in. Okay.
Hey,
And we
Shalom.
have the lady of the hour has arrived, Madam Director. So we're a couple of minutes late. So let me go straight to introducing the show. This is Wednesday, June the 30th. My name is Aaron Showtime Taylor. We are now hard in the paint. My guest is the Western Director of the Universal Basketball Association. Last season for the WUBA, she was the Rookie of the Year. And what's unique about her being Rookie of the Year is the Rookie of the Year award has been around since 2012, which means it's been around almost 10 years. And she's the first person to win this award who wasn't born in America. She is from Toronto, Ontario. Played her basketball, high school ball there. I believe the name of the high school is Henson. Is that the name of that? Is that the name of it? Huh?
I played over at NSNL out here in the Bay, but I did finish my undergrad back in Canada.
Okay, see, well, see, we're gonna have to get Google to update that type of stuff because I'm
Yeah.
trying to do my research on you. You know what I'm saying, Madam Director. Tonight's guest is Fatima Amin-Ra, and we are now hard in the paint. Why don't you take a minute to, give your own brief introduction of who you are and, something about you, and then we'll get into the interview. The interview goes in 4 quarters: quarter 1, quarter 2, halftime, third quarter, and fourth quarter. But before you start off, let me give a shout out to Eternity Photo Booth, who is one of the people that helped sponsor this live. They have they're set up in Sacramento, but they service from Sacramento all the way to the Bay Area. If you need photos done, you need your wedding done, you need baby pictures done, you need family photos done. If you and your girl want to stand on the edge of the water with the sunlight going down, Eternity Photo Booth will come out there and shoot y'all to give you very, very professional work, right, at very, very fair prices. That's Eternity Photo Booth. You can find them here on Instagram under that name, Eternity Photo Booth. Okay, Fatima, the floor is yours. You got let us know something about you before we get into the interview.
All right. So my name is Fatima Amin-Ra. I was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, but I grew up out here in the Bay Area. Fell in love with basketball at like the age of 12, and since then it's been inseparable. I think something that's very interesting about me is the fact that I'm a very hard worker. I love the game. I love to give back to my community, and I love to be able to help others, have an opportunity, because obviously growing up, I didn't have all the opportunities. Everything I've ever had, I've had to work for. So, now that I'm in a place to, give back and do all those things, I really want to, do that, push forward, and help as many people as possible.
Man, you're helping your boy out right now. Just we're gonna get into how we met and how I came to represent the broadcasting aspect of the league in a moment. But let's go into this first quarter and let's start building, right? So you joined the WUBA, as I like to call, make room for the W. That's my new handle for that, right? Make room for the dub.
I love it.
And, last year, you're the Rookie of the Year, and you're playing for what team?
I was playing for the East Bay Splash.
Yeah, the Bay Splash. Now, tell me how you transition from Rookie of the Year to Western Director.
Yeah.
Of the WUBA. How does that happen? How does a 24, 25-year-old, right?
I look that young, but I'm really I was 28 back then. I'm hitting 30 this year. It just doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, but, I'm not gonna argue with you. I don't know many women that would bump their age up. They be trying to knock 10 off.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep this age as long as possible.
So how does a young black woman go from being the Rookie of the Year to the Western Director of the Women's Universal Basketball Association?
Well, it kind of started in a reverse order. So after everyone came back home because of the pandemic, a lot of imports were sent home in March of 2020. And at that time, a lot of us came home and we're just trying to figure out what our next move is going to be, because obviously the markets are super unpredictable. And, there's a lot of players that are going to be without jobs the following season. So I just thought I would be proactive. And I've always wanted to do something like this, but the opportunity kind of fell in my lap, and I kind of had a very good understanding of like how leagues are run, whether it's overseas or here in the Bay Area. And I wanted to do things a little bit more differently here in the Bay, just so that we can give, these ladies, there's a lot of hoopers out here that don't have an opportunity. I wanted to give them an opportunity, because I didn't have that. I know when I graduated from university, I'm looking around trying to figure out, what program, what can I do to help me put myself in the best position to succeed and get an opportunity to play overseas. So, April rolled around. I spoke with my boss, Jermaine Barnes, spoke with him in April, and he's, getting ready to revamp the league. During like 2010, 2016, the league was running out of Atlanta, Georgia. They were partnered with the Atlanta Dream during that time, so they already had some sort of like WNBA affiliation, or partnership with them. So, I took it
Right.
upon myself and said, I would love to do something like this out here in the Bay, because there's bare hoopers out here that don't have a pro-am really to play in, or if it is, it's kind of watered down now just because of like, it's hard to find ladies that, are going to commit and give their time and energy into something that, they love. So took it upon myself, worked really, really hard over those next 4 months to get everything started for the National League, which started in October of 2020. The season was a short one, 10-week season, well, 9-week season, because the last week we ended up going into a shutdown because of COVID. But for those 9 weeks, the gym was going, games were lit, players were coming out to compete, because we didn't have basketball for so long, and everybody was just itching for an opportunity to just get back on the court. So I think, with that, I had to put myself in a director role. I had to kind of figure out how to separate from being a player and then going back into being a player when it was time for me to play with my team. It was definitely a learning opportunity for me, because, not a lot of times you don't get to see somebody in two roles at once, and how they're able to juggle that. There's so many hats on their head at that time, and they're figuring out the best way to give their energy to all these certain things that they have responsibilities to. So I still came
Did
out.
you did you use any of your international experience? Because I know you played in Greece, you played in Australia, you
Yeah,
played in which particular Muslim country?
I was just in Egypt.
In Egypt. Okay.
Yeah, I was
And
over
so
in
did,
Cairo.
so did you use any of that international experience, right, in how you are setting up and formulating, um, as being the Western director? Are you use any of that experience in how you're dealing with teams and players?
Oh, most definitely. Like before I even started, well, before I even had the opportunity to be director of the Western Conference out here, I had already finished like my third year playing overseas, but I had been in about like 5 different countries, during that time. So I got to see how a lot of, things operated. I played in, Central America at one point. I played in Europe at another point. I played in Africa. So every place has a different way of how they operate, but at the end of the day, the main thing is they want whoever they're bringing in, especially if they're investing money into you, they want you to be professional. They want you to uphold this image of their club, because this is the only way that they're going to be able to bring in sponsors. They're going to be able to, continue to educate or help their youth, grow and excel to another level so that they can be the best club possible. So I took all of the stuff that I've experienced overseas, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and I put that into what is now the Western Conference, because I wanted things to be, ran as smoothly as possible. And, for players that have the opportunity to get overseas, I want, organizations overseas to see, okay, their system is ran similar to ours, so they don't have to question anything. They see the level of competition, they see the work that we're putting in, they see the level of professionalism. So that's kind of what, I wanted to model the WBA after.
And see, and I brought that up because I spoke to Coach Cameron, right? Tiona
Yeah.
Cameron. She was one of my first interviews, and she talked about the international experience uh, for women. And
It's
it's
different.
actually after I did a little research into it, it seems as though more women have to go overseas to play basketball than men,
Yeah,
right? But actually, to even make a living, they
most
have to do
definitely.
that
Yeah.
versus going over to the European League or the Australian League or the CBA over in China. It seems that women have to go and play in a lot of other places and get exposed to a lot of different cultures. And so that's why I asked about the managerial style that you bring to the position that you hold, right? Um, would it be fair to say that having that international experience gives you a more unique way of understanding how players transition from, let's say, the European League back over here in America, or from the Australian League coming back in here to America? Is what's part of the cultural transition that they have to go through?
I mean, honestly, with me having the experience that I do have, obviously it gives me that advantage, that edge that someone that only has played here, um, someone that has only played here in the USA, they haven't experienced what it's like to be overseas. They don't know what it's like to not be paid on time or have a terrible living situation. You have to talk to you have to talk to the president of your club to figure it out, or not have transportation, or being somewhere foreign and you having to figure it out. So I know that, I haven't always been put in the best situations, but as my career progressed, my situations got better and better, and I was able to learn, okay, this is what I'm not going to allow in the next contract that I have versus what I was willing to allow when I first got the opportunity. Because you're looking for an opportunity. This is something you love to do. If you're given a job when you've never been given the opportunity, what's up, Sam? He's one of the people that own Soldier Town over in Oakland. It's a really dope
Hey,
site.
you don't have to explain it to me. You brought a fan base
Yeah,
with you. They're getting introduced to me.
appreciate everybody that hopped on the call. I mean, hopped on the live today. I
Now
appreciate you
give your
guys.
shouts out. Listen, Madam Director, give your shouts out. I encourage you to do that.
Yeah, shout out to all my people. I got some of my young ones in here as well. Some of the kids that I help train in the community. Thank you guys for coming on here and supporting me. Appreciate you guys.
I'm
But
loving it. I'm loving
definitely,
it. You're supposed to. If you don't travel with a fan base, that says a lot. When you travel with a fan base, that says a lot.
no, yeah, I have a
So
lot of amazing people that support me and just, know the type of heart that I have and know how much I love the game and how I'm willing to just do whatever to have someone have an opportunity, or do whatever to have an opportunity for myself. So,
so to for the first break right here, this is Aaron Showtime Taylor. My guest is Fatima Amin Rae. She is the Western Director of the Women's Universal Basketball Association. We're at the end of the first quarter. I want to give a definite shout out to Shay Dolly, who is the owner of Take a Sip Mobile Bartending. Here on Instagram, look her up, Shay Dolly. That's SHAYYDOLLY. She's the owner of Take a Sip Mobile Bartending. They come to your spot, they bring the drinks there, they serve y'all, and then they get on. You don't have to worry about none of that stuff, right? The only thing they don't do is provide the person to drive the car who didn't drink. That's what they don't provide. Everything else, they'll show up at your spot. They serve. They're very good professional bartenders, do professional work, and then they'll make sure that they clean up behind themselves. That's Shay Dolly, SHAYYDOLLY. Here on Instagram, look her up if you have a party someplace in Southern California, and they can come there and take care of that for you. As we go into the second quarter with the young lady that I call Madam Director, but I think I may have to switch over to Fatima. So now going into the second quarter, right? I want to talk about like upbringing, you know, um, brothers and sisters. What got you into playing basketball? You know what I'm saying? What was the first team you was on? I'm gonna wait for the camera to kick back in before I answer this.
okay,
So
I think
what
we're
what what was
good.
the first league that you played basketball in?
Man. Okay, so I picked up a basketball once. I seen a couple kids playing at lunchtime. I picked a basketball up. I was probably in like third grade. I shot the ball. It went in. I didn't think anything of it. And I was just like, okay, okay. I left it alone. But when fifth grade came around, that was obviously during the time of like September 11th. So there was a lot of well, that was like pre-September 11th, but we moved into this new environment. Um, my family and I, we spent a lot of time at like Diamond Park over in Oakland. So like every day after school, I would go to the court. I met one of my best friends there as a child. Her name was Tamara. She pretty much, I saw her playing in the park, and I asked her, can I play? And from then on, I would just come to the park like every day. She would show me moves. There would be grown men, come into the park to get on the court. They wanted to get on the court. I told them, I would play them. There's only one basket there, so if they wanted to use the
Oh
basket,
wow.
and I've been there for like 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm like, I'll play you the court. I'm trying to stay on. So, um, I think I really developed my game a lot just within those 2 months of just, practicing and her teaching me. And then I went to St. Jarlath at the time over in Oakland. I played fifth grade CYO. That was the first time I played organized basketball. Um, my coach was Coach Alberta. She helped me fall in love with the game as a kid. And I think like that was like the first time in, program history where uh, my school made it to like the CYO, whatever, playoffs or whatever. And we lost, and I knew I loved this game because after we lost, I went home and I like locked myself in my room for a week. My mom couldn't talk to me. I was just so upset because I was just like, I've never felt this type of love before for, something that I was doing. But after fifth grade ended, crazy stuff happened. Obviously, September 11th happened. My family and I, we found ourselves, homeless, so I had to live in a shelter for like 2 years. So, I'm in sixth grade at this time, and no one really knows where I live. People only know I come home. I go to school, I come home. No one's really, asking to come over. If I ever, hang out with friends, it's usually I'm going to my best friend's house at this time. Her name is Anna Marie. I think she knew what type of situation I was in, and that's why she allowed me to like come over her house so much. Her family was super, warm and welcoming. And for that, 2-year time period, like I became a part of the family. And, they didn't have a basketball team at the charter school I was at. The coach, she pretty much loved me. So I think she like really pushed for them to have a basketball team, because she dropped me off one day at the shelter. But I think she knew what it was. But, she took me to my first Cal game. I got to see Alexis Gray Lawson, and then, she ended up bringing me home, and she saw the type of environment that I was living in. So she really pushed for them to have a basketball team. The team started, I got on the team. I was kind of bullied a little bit during middle school, but whenever I played basketball, I was just a regular person. I got to, forget about all my troubles at home. I got to forget about my situation. I just got to be a regular kid without having so many like responsibilities and stuff like that. So that
Isn't it
really,
funny though, right? Isn't it funny how being on the court or just being involved in sports, period, is the ultimate equalizer to bullying and belittling, what I'm saying, individuals who have tougher circumstances than others, right?
yeah,
Um,
most definitely. Like,
right,
no
because
one really
people,
knows. Yeah, my bad. What were you gonna say?
no, people have a tendency to, as kids, we have a tendency to talk about the other, somebody that's not like everybody else. But then that same person gets on the court or gets on the stage and starts busting lyrics or plays an instrument or something like that. And then all of a sudden, that person is embraced again.
Yeah,
But even with that point, I want to back up to the friend who, without ever asking, just sensed that you needed,
yeah.
some place to go to, right? Um, how does
I
that
mean,
work out for you?
it's crazy because as I obviously now I'm an adult, I realize that, people are put into people's lives at a certain point because they really need either, that nurturing, or they need some guidance during that time. And her and her family, they were like that family for me. Like, I knew that being where I was at, it wasn't healthy. It's very easy for people to get consumed in the environments that they lived in. And like, I knew at a very young age, like I wanted to be someone. Like, I always believed in myself, and I believed in my abilities. And I know that if I worked hard enough, obviously I could get an opportunity. So just being in a different atmosphere, it helped me to kind of debrief and, uh, learn about myself a little bit more. Like, obviously, no one's perfect, but I was able to stay on the right path, as opposed to, letting my circumstances affect me to the point where I wouldn't be able to, rebound from it.
See, and I like that because myself, and there's some other people on the line listening too as well. Aaron Showtime Taylor, we're on Hard in the Paint right now, and we're in the second quarter talking to Fatima Amin Ra'e, the Western Director of the Women's Universal Basketball Association. And we're talking about, well, she just alluded to something, and I'm about to take us a little bit deeper into it because there's myself and there's some people on the line listening right now who had to go to the parole board to come home, right, from prison. And one of the things that I said is in a juxtaposition to what you just said. I had to tell and admit to the parole board that I was in a bad situation, but I'm not in prison because of a bad environment. I was making bad choices in
Yeah.
that bad environment. Whereas in your situation, you said I was in a bad environment, but I chose to make better choices and more definitive choices to stay out of trouble and to keep myself focused on that. And the reason I'm going back to that, right, is because a lot of us grow up in the same environments and the same circumstances, right?
Yeah,
But to
definitely.
have you, but to have you point out that I chose to make better decisions, right, is for me is magnanimous, right? Because we need more messages like that to be heard. That just because your environment is bad and just because your situation is bad shouldn't be an excuse to make bad choices in that situation.
No, most definitely. And, as a child, my mother always taught me, like, words have power. Like, treat your elders with respect. Just certain things like that. Like, I knew at a very young age, like, right from wrong. And, you know, one thing about, growing up Muslim, going to the mosque, going to Juma on Fridays, like, the environment that I was in at that time, they made sure of that. Like, you always want to be a good Muslim. You want to be a positive reflection of, whatever you're being a part of. And I think that definitely played a very valuable role in my life, especially with my development. Like, I just always wanted to be surrounded by positive people, people that are doing something so that I have role models to look up to, because as you're growing up you don't always have the answers, but if you have the right people around you that are able to guide you in the right direction, not holding your hand along the way, but pushing you in the right direction, you're able to figure it out and be that much better of a person.
Which is part of the reason it makes you a phenomenal individual and why I always address you as Madam Director, right? Um, because you want to make sure that you respect the person, forget age for a minute, just respect the journey from an
Definitely, yeah.
empathetic level that it takes to get to where you're at the age that you're at. Whereas, like I said, there's myself and there's guys on the line who got this lesson a little bit late, but we understand what it takes to get there as well. And I can pretty much speak for them that they all got mad respect for you. If they never met you before, listening to you now, I'm pretty sure that they're like, yeah, this was a good interview for Showtime to bring on, because we're hearing ourselves in you and seeing the potential in you that for some, maybe at my age now, was like, man, if I'd have had this at her age, right? But there's some guys that's closer to your age that still have it, so they still have the ability to put it into action, even though they may have spent time inside of prison. We're going to
Yeah.
cut the second quarter short because of the time situation when it took for you to get here. We was running a little late, so we're
Well,
going
my
to end this.
apologies about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay, ma'am, director. You got that. You good. You the one that signed my checks anyway, so I got We're gonna go into halftime real quick on Hard in the Paint. Again, I'm Aaron Showtime Taylor. My guest is Fatima Amin Ra'e, right? Rookie of the Year last year in the WUBA, aka Make Room for the W. Um, in the first quarter, we talked about her transitioning from Rookie of the Year and becoming the Western Director, and using some of the international experience um, to bring here to make sure that the league would run a little bit smoother than maybe some of the leagues overseas, but using also that international experience on how to relate player to player, when it comes to paycheck situations or game situations, rescheduling uniforms, all of those little things that we miss or that a lot of people don't know about that it takes for a director sometimes to become a commissioner or even sometimes an agent and have to step in and take care of. And in the second quarter, we went into some of her upbringing, um, having to spend about 2 years in a shelter and the type of strength and fortitude that it took to deal with the bullying and whatnot and still stay focused on basketball and raise herself and her game to another level to where people start respecting her for that. And as we go come out of this halftime, I want to mention one more time Eternity Photo Booth based in Sacramento. Again, if you have a wedding coming up, if it's a childbirth and you want to bring a professional camera person in to take the photos, if you want to stand on the shore with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background with a person that you love and have a photographer get knee deep in the water and take that shot, that special shot for you, Eternity Photo Booth is here on Instagram. Look them up, Eternity Photo Booth, right? And they can come do the work for you. They're in Sacramento, but they service the Sacramento and the Bay Area. Okay, going into the third quarter, right? Now we want to talk about the league today, right? Where does the league stand, right? And what do you see going? We'll just stick with this season. How do you see where's the league at now? Somebody asked a question, and I'll ask it for you. I mean, I'll ask the question for them. Where can they see live games at, and how do you see this season playing out?
Well, they can see live games at our website. So if they go over to the WBACali.com website, at the menu bar or on the menu bar, there's a live stream tab. And if they click on it, it'll forward them over to all the upcoming games for that week. And they're able to purchase access to the live stream, and they get to see some of their favorite players and teams go at it. But in terms of where I see this league this year, I always, envision. Let me rewind. The last time I spoke to someone, I was giving them some of my ideas, and they told me to think bigger. Every time I said something, think bigger, think bigger, think bigger. That was their only response. So, I'm just trying to think big now. And I see so much potential in this league. I see so much potential in the players that we have. Last year we went from having only 4 teams and having things only in the Bay to now having 10 teams in California, 4 in the SoCal area, and 6 over here in the Bay Area. So, and the level of talent, it just continues to go up every year. Like, we have more pros, with overseas experience coming into play. We have players with, WNBA experience coming into play. We have, I'm telling you, like, like a really good friend of mine. I talked to my friend Jasmine Davis about this. She went to UW, got drafted by the Seattle Storm. She's played in Poland for a little bit. She's playing in the league just because of the fact that she knows that I put a lot into this, and she sees the potential of the league. I have another teammate, Kaylee Johnson, I believe. She got drafted, and she came out of retirement just to play in this league. Another one of my really good friends' family, Alexis Gray Lawson, she went to Cal, got picked up by the Phoenix Mercury, played a couple years overseas as well in China. She had, put the basketball shoes up, but the minute I talked to her about this, she came out of retirement because she believes in me and believes in what I'm trying to do for the league and my community. So, moving forward, especially for this year, I saw that there were some things in the news about, them bringing a WNBA team out here to Oakland. And for this season alone, I want to grab the attention of some of those people that are on the board and see that, and hopefully they'll see what we're doing, and maybe we would be able to have some sort of, partnership or community incentive, later on, maybe next season if everything goes as planned. But my main intention right now for this league is to provide ladies with opportunities to get overseas. That's why I started this. I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say that my first Saturday, coming in to do play-by-play for the game.
Yeah.
Um, I was extremely impressed with the talent level, and
Oh yeah.
I've done games for the VBL, and I saw at least 7 or 8 of the VBL ladies out there on the court. And so when you and I first started talking, and we got to talking because of a mutual friend, Dr. Sharon, aka I call her the Doc, on the
Shout out
court.
to Doc for creating that connection. Like I
Right.
appreciate her. She does a good job of putting the right people in the right spaces at the right time.
And see, our connection started with someone wanting me to do a podcast. And I said, okay, maybe I may want to have a doctor there with me. And so I met her out at Huntington Beach during the VBL season.
Okay.
And that fizzled out. But then she calls me up out of nowhere and says, hey, I got a league that may need you, and I want you to talk to somebody. Okay, what's happening? Let me hear what you're talking about. Because she knows how I feel about women's sports. The reason I'm wearing this LA Sparks jersey, I had this specially made because I was campaigning
Hey.
hard. I was campaigning hard to be the voice of the Sparks because I wanted to get in the WNBA. That's how strongly I feel about women's basketball, right? I wanted to use that as another mark on my resume going toward the NBA. But if I would have stayed in the WNBA, I'd have been more than happy. And that put us together. And I listened to you, right? And I listened to your vision. And again, there's people on the line that'll tell you I'm a visionary as well. So watching the level of the play that took place a couple of Saturdays ago was so impressive that I seen when you had the league up there, I'm like, I got to get somebody else
Yeah.
to cover it up north because I can see where we're going with this. And I framed the question this season, but in my mind, I've already went 3 years in the future. So
That's what this
I'm
league
looking
does
3
to
years
you. You
ahead.
think about the longevity that you can create within this league, and I think
I,
that's
w-
like
I wish I knew who told you to think bigger, right? Because I've told that to people constantly. Think bigger. Don't you're thinking too small. Think bigger. What
yeah.
are the possibilities that you can see? Do you see eventually in your future vision that the WUBA either becomes a G League for the WNBA or actually becomes a part of the WNBA, almost like a merger between the ABA and the NBA back in the late 70s?
I mean, I would definitely love for us to be recognized as the developmental league for the WNBA because I don't really feel like they've had one or there hasn't been something, established saying that okay, this is the G League for the WNBA. But with the talent that I have in this league, I know that I do a really good job of connecting with people and you know with the reputation that we're building, I know those people that are high caliber players, they're going to tell other high caliber players, hey, there's this really good league you got to check out in
Hmm.
California. So I know that it's only a matter of time until the WNBA sees what we're doing out here. I know that, I'm doing a lot just to put the right blocks in place so that we are as successful as possible or we have that credibility when the time comes for them to make a move. But I mean, at the end of the day, my thought is always to think bigger. And my number one priority is to help all these ladies, or at least some of these ladies that, really have what it takes to get overseas, help them get overseas. Like I have players like this year, if the pandemic wasn't happening, I've had players from overseas wanting to come and play in this league just because of, who I am, as well as how they saw the league transform over the last season. I was able to get more, players with WNBA and overseas experience to come and play in this season just because they see what I'm bringing to the table and they see, how amazing this league can become. So I feel like it's only a matter of time. That's my intention. That's what I'm throwing out into the universe right now. And hopefully we manifest that within like the next couple of years.
Hey, I'm very much into speaking it into existence, right? Um, my life has been speaking into existence over the past 8 months. That's how we met. That's how our lights crossed. And I
Yeah.
think that's how we're going to push this because I'm sharing with the audience right now what I told Fatima when we were talking about this. And I told her, I'm finna set your league on fire. I'm finna light this league up. I'm getting ready to invest, my reputation as a play-by-play announcer and my whole storyline. I'm investing in this league because I believe in her vision, but even more, I believe in what I saw on the court. I didn't see a sloppy game out there. I saw a well-coordinated, well-coached, two well-coached teams, right, in both games, even though the second game was a forfeit, but it was still two well-coached teams in each of the games. And the ladies was out there balling their ass off. I mean, balling, you
Yeah.
know, balling,
No,
you
we go
know.
at it in this league. Everyone is going at each other because I'm a strong believer in iron sharpens iron. We're only going to get as better as we push each other. So it doesn't make any sense to go out on the court and be or go at it half-assed. Like, we love this game. We got to show that we love it, and we
But there
show
was
that.
something,
Show that, yeah.
there was something that you just said, right? And it's something I told Steph when they was asking me at the Chase Center when I was there on April the 10th during the post-game interview, and I said it. I can only call the game that I see, you know. And so if you think I sound good, imagine the game I just called, you know. And you had the videotape evidence. Matter of fact, while I just thought about it, tell us about big game management and what their contribution to the league is.
Oh my gosh. So Eddie and I actually met last season. He's an agent out here over in the SoCal area. His agency is called Big Game Management. He sent one of his players over to me, Brianna. Brianna, I believe, lived in the SoCal area. So like every weekend she drove down to the Bay just to play, along with a couple other people that lived out in SoCal. But, throughout that season, we hit it off immediately just because like I like being able to interact with people that have their players' best interests at heart. And I feel like he does that every time, or, whatever player he has signed to his agency, he's doing his best to get them the best offer possible. So, I knew that after, moving into the next season, I knew that he wanted to be a part of the league somehow. And he's actually the first person to own his own team in the league, Los Angeles Mambas. I know his main priority is to get his girl signed, and he's in the right environment to do so because we have a lot of talented ladies out here. And, Eddie, he's definitely like stepped up and helped me with a lot of some of the behind the scenes work this year, as far as, expanding out to LA, because I'm not too familiar with that area. Like, I know I have friends out in that area, and some players in the league that I am close with that are helping me to navigate and bring the best basketball, the best experience for these ladies as possible to that area. But Eddie's definitely stepped up, and whatever I need, he's there, as well as being there for his team.
And see, the reason I paused and said talk about him is because he was at the game and he was videotaping the Mambas game,
Yeah.
the Mambas versus the Wildcats, where you actually had a chance to hear me do play-by-play
Yeah.
outside of what you see on YouTube, something that's been edited or something like that, where you just got to hear it raw. And so that's why I said I can only call the game that I see. So if I sound good, imagine what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
No,
Trust me, I had my teammate and I, we rewatched the game because I asked Eddie to post it online just so that the other girls, if they needed the film, they're able to cut it up, make a highlight for themselves and add it to their resume so that they can market themselves to other teams. And I'm
right.
listening. And, my roommate, Tashara, who actually plays for the Oakland Warriors team in the league, she's like, man, how can we get Showtime at our game? Like, as soon as she figured out who you were, she's like, oh, I'm about to put on cue ball right now. So I'm like, we watch it. She's like, tell Showtime I said what's up.
And see, it's a testament to basketball in and of itself, how it crosses these lines.
Yeah.
It's an intersectionality in basketball that brings people together to where only your talent level defines what you do, right? And so as we close out the third quarter with that one right there, and your roommate tell her, I said, what's crackling?
No, she's watching right now. Trust.
Oh,
she's
okay.
about to be hella excited. Yeah.
What's happening? My guest tonight is Fatima Amin-Ra. She is the Western Director of the Women's Universal Basketball Association, the WUBA, or as I like to call it, make room for the W, right? And in this fourth quarter, I'm going to talk about This young lady, her name is Shayna, Shayna. If you are having issues with your credit and you need to get your credit score and you need to get your stuff worked on and get your credit score built up, Shayna is here on Instagram. You can look her up. She will be able to help you. She does charge. It's going to cost, but she can help you get your credit score up, get your credit score together, right? She's a young entrepreneur, and she does excellent work. Her name is Shayna, Shayna. You can't miss her profile picture when you see it. She's a chocolate sister with long hair, and she's beautiful, and she does good work, right? So going into the fourth quarter now, because I want to lighten it up a little bit, right? We done touched on some subjects, right? But I want to kind of lighten it up a little bit, right? So you went from 4 teams to 10 teams in 1 year,
Yeah.
right? But I'm going to back up to something you said in the second quarter about losing and going into your room and locking the door, right? And I'm going to tell you why. Well, first I need to know, I would like for you to go through some of the emotions. If you remember how you felt, I'd like for you to go
Oh,
through tell us some of those emotions that you felt.
as a kid, oh my
And
goodness.
trust me, it's a reason I'm asking the question. And as
Yeah.
soon as you answer, I'll tell you why.
So I lost the game instantly in tears. We had won every game that whole season. I didn't know what a loss was. I was like, oh, I'm great. And back then I looked up to Allen Iverson. That was my favorite player.
Oh,
You
no.
know, I tried to make my handles nice like him. So, I'm doing everything in fifth grade. My handles are nice. The team's winning. Everyone's happy. And we lose. And I was just so frustrated in the game because I'm just like, I've never experienced this. Instantly start crying, go home. My mom's like, what's going on? Goes to my room. I don't say anything. I don't think like I'm not disrespectful to my mom or anything like that. I just went to my room. I was like, I don't want to talk right now. Cried like every single day. She did everything that she could to just like try and get me out of my funk. But I felt like I had to go through that because it builds character. Like I realized at a young age, I'm like, I love this. I found something that I loved and that I wanted to give my time and energy to. And, I'm here today, that was, what was it, fifth grade? I don't know how many years ago that was, but I'm almost 30 now and I still feel the same way about basketball. That's how much I love the game. Like, I love the feeling. I love winning. If I lose, I go back and I think and I debrief and I'm like, what could I have done better? And that translates into my life because, like, obviously, like, no one's perfect. We all deal with, like, mental health stuff. That's really helped me to kind of navigate through like my depression at times because all players go through it. No one's ever perfect, but you know, basketball has really helped me to just self-reflect and to translate that into my everyday life.
So let me tell you why I brought it up, because we're in the fourth quarter, like I said, right? Uh, Anthony Ammons should still be on the line. Half man, half amazing from Cue Ball.
Oh man.
And him and Mike Franklin, you may have heard of his name. Mike Franklin, he passed a few years ago. He was killed at a gas station, but he was one of Oakland's, definitely he's a legend in Oakland basketball. And they were my Jordan and Pippen on a team we had called Mad Skills inside of San Quentin in the intramural league. And we make it to the finals, the first finals I'd ever been to inside a prison in the whole 26 years that I did as the head coach, navigated the team all the way through. And we had a very, very good team, but we ran up against a better team, right? And I remember distinctly, we lost. It was in the best of five, we lost 3-1. And I had to go back to the huddle to talk to him and the other 9 players on the team, and I had to bottle my emotions up to talk to them. And the reason I asked you about how you felt, right, it's like you said, it was immediate tears and whatnot, and then you went home and locked it up. You're like,
Yeah.
you was probably young. You was probably young. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you from a grown man's position, when I finished talking to them in that huddle and I walked away. I couldn't even make it upstairs to where I slept at. I made a right turn and went down by the gym and broke down and cried for about 10 minutes.
That hurts,
Because
man. Yeah.
it's not just the hurt, right? This is for all of the ballers on the line that's listening, right? It's not just the hurt. It's the emotional investment that you put into what you do, right?
Yes.
And when you go through, what's up, Cuckoo? When you go through a season with a team and you give your all and you don't make it, the emotions that you feel we have to learn how to channel them. And as a coach at the time, I had to learn how to talk to my players to get them to be able to walk away knowing that, yeah, we lost, but we was the last team that stood between this other team for them to win the championship. But for me, it hurt deep into my heart to lose a championship with the team that I had,
Yeah.
right? And that's why I asked you to talk about the emotions as a child, because the child in me felt the same way as a grown man losing,
Yeah.
right? But I still had to remember, like you said, it builds character, you know? And so I, got myself up, wiped the snot all off my face, you know what I'm saying? And boogers everywhere, because because I had to get back up, and I'm still a
Keep going.
play-by-play announcer. I'm still a coach. I'm still a league commissioner. I'm still somebody that people looked up to, just like you,
Yeah.
right? Even at that young age, like you said, you had your Iverson handles. I'm pretty sure you was the star of the team. Everybody looking at you like, damn, we went down. You Iverson, what's happening? You was AI. What went down?
Man. I didn't know what a bad game was until that game. So I'm just like, it was a humbling experience.
And so now when you take that experience that you have and you're looking at your team, and then more broader in the macro, you're looking at your league, right? How do you take that and transfer that over? To see, this was a nice dynamic, a nice way to slide this
I
question
like this
in.
transition. I like this.
So
I mean,
how do you take that experience and transfer it over so you can make sure that your league is uplifted along with you, even if somebody loses a championship, or we're looking at the macro again of the league in general?
yeah, it's crazy that you asked me this question because I just had a league meeting with both the northern and southern region for the league, and the most important thing that I talked about is that the league is only going to go as far as we push it, so we all need to be on the same page. Like, we all need to bring intensity, we all need to bring energy, we all need to market, ourselves, the league, because no one's gonna want to invest in us if we don't invest in ourselves. So that's the biggest thing, that's something I harp on, well, not harp on, but that's something that I really try to ingrain in all the players within this league. Like, when you get to this level, you are your own brand. No one is going to want to use what you are offering or what you're providing unless you have good reviews behind you. Your reviews are the people that support you. That's as simple as it is. So every time we step out on the court, like, we have to go and play our hardest. I'm really big on giving back to the community. I know when you called me earlier, I'm doing a camp just so I can find a way to get further invested into my community so that I can have more people come out and support me and see that, I love this game. I love the developmental part of this game. I want to give back to the youth, and I want the youth to have a strong role model to look up to, so that, even if they were ever in my position, they know that whatever position that they're in, that's not the end of it for them. They can be whatever they want to be. So that's one of the biggest things for me.
You know what? I think we're going to end out on that one right there, because that was some dope wisdom that you just dropped right there. I don't think we need to add anything on to
Now
that.
we're good there. That was it.
Yeah. My guest tonight has been the phenomenal Fatima Amin Ra A, out of Toronto, Ontario, now Bay Area bound, Bay Area rooted. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, we are.
Was
You
good.
know what I'm saying? She's there now. She is the Western Director of the Women's Universal Basketball Association, aka Make Room for the Dub, the league that I am now, the the play-by-play announcer for right here in the Southern area. And when the playoffs and the championships come, I'll be going to where they're at. I think we're going to be in Atlanta, right?
No, we're going to be out here in the Bay.
So,
So,
okay, so I'm coming up to the Bay to call the
yeah.
playoff and the championship. I'm invested in this league. You know what I'm saying? I'm supporting this league. I'm supporting women's basketball, and just about every dude I know that's a baller supports women's basketball. They may not get the platform to say it, but they're here now, and I'm telling you, we all support women's basketball. We support good basketball, period. Let's
Thank
be
you.
clear about that.
Yeah.
We support good basketball, period. So now, while I got Fatima here, let me say tomorrow night we're coming back again. This is a back-to-back, and tomorrow night I'm bringing in Pat Lacey, aka PL Smooth. I'm bringing in Dan the Destroyer Wall, and I'm bringing in Tevin Fortinet, aka Swaggy Smooth, for a back-to-back episode of Hard in the Paint. We're going to talk about San Quentin Warrior basketball. We're going to talk about Green Team basketball. Next week, coming in on Wednesday, I have a young lady who was on the Pac-12 network for a few years, and then she moved to Florida. I think she was part of the ACC network as well. She is a sports writer. Her name is Trinice Farrar. I met her at San Quentin when she came in to help the sports department out at the San Quentin newspaper that I used to write for, and help us become better writers. She'll be in next Wednesday, and next Thursday, I have a guest coming in. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but just be ready because we're going to drop it. One last thing before we close out. I know I said that Bob Myers was supposed to appear on Monday, but due to the draft, he couldn't come in on Monday, so we're rescheduling President of Basketball Operations for the Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers, for late in July. Right? He will be here later on in the month of July, but he had to take care of that draft. You know, the Warriors, they had the 7th and the 14th pick, so a lot of us remember when Bob Myers first came in 2012 and he drafted Draymond Green and Festus Ezeli, Harrison Barnes, and some other guy. I forget that guy's name. And you see what that led to, a championship, right? So let's see what Bob can come up with. We'll be talking to him about that hopefully in late July. And one more time, my guest tonight was Madam Director, my boss, right? A boss. Fatima Amin Ra A. You have been with Aaron Showtime Taylor on Hard in the Paint.